Hey, my Legion. How y'all doing today? I'm here today to talk about my personal history with the Howling movie franchise. And right off the bat, I want to say, I looked on YouTube and they have lots of things they talk about the Halloween franchise, Nightmare on Elm Street. No one talks about the Howling movie franchise. At least I don't think so. They've done reviews of the individual movies, but no one's done like a thing, or they've never done like a ranking of worst to best. I think people pretty much forgot the Howling series because I know, especially Fangoria, really trashed the sequels to the Howling. I mean, big time. And I'm going to give you my thoughts of all of them, my personal history on all of them. And you might agree with me, you might disagree with me. And also, so this is kind of like the first time on YouTube. I could be mistaken. You know, it's always possible. But I didn't see anything on YouTube. I looked it up a couple times. Maybe I didn't do it well enough. I remember even putting a Howling movie series, and then I'd seen Halloween came up. This Howling, not Halloween, on YouTube. Well, anyways, let's go into... and I also want to thank my friend Tony Talant for making me the awesome thumbnail. That was really clever of him. And I really liked it. They had the werewolf and then in the moon, and my photo of me is in the full moon. I think that was really clever. Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate that. I don't know how many of the Howling movies you've seen. I know you said you saw the newest one in 2011. I'll get to that one. I'll definitely get to that one when I get to it. Because I saw that. I finally saw that one. And also, I wanted to wish my friend Amber McGarvey a speedy recovery. I'm probably going to put this video up Monday, and hopefully Monday she'll be out of the hospital, because she's my good friend, and it's no fun being in the hospital and not feeling good. You know what I mean? But anyways, on to the history of the Howling films. Now, 81 and 82 were very important in the world of werewolf films. 81 came up with The Howling, and 82 was American Werewolf in London. Two very iconic werewolf films. And in 81, The Howling came out. I remember I seen the review on Siskel and Ebert, and that was pretty much it. And then I remember, they had something on Saturday nights called, it started some, Avco Embassy started something, and Avco Embassy was the people that originally released the first Howling film. And they had something called, it was Avco Embassy at the Movies, or Embassy Night at the Movies. It was like once a month. I remember when we got our VCR, they started it. Well, it was going on, it was like once a month, one Saturday a month, and they would show like an Avco Embassy movie. Edited, of course, for TV. And I remember when we got our VCR, they had that Chuck Norris movie, Eye for an Eye, which I'd never seen uncut. I just saw the edited TV version, and Professor Tor Tanaka was in it. And that was a really good movie, but no one ever talks about Eye for an Eye. I don't know why. Well, see, I'm a poet and didn't even know it. But no one talks about that movie. I never understood to me, and not to be confused with the Sally Field Eye for an Eye back in the 90s. This is the old Chuck Norris Kung Fu movie. It's a lot of fun. I like that movie. Well, anyways, and they had some other movies I remember seeing. I remember seeing Eddie and the Cruisers, which was a huge disappointment. I thought I would like that. I didn't like that at all. And also the Kevin Wall movie Soldier, which I wasn't a fan of. And then The Howling, of course. And I had a good time with The Howling. That was a lot of fun. Joe Dante was doing another film. And he likes blending humor and horror together, especially back then, R-rated horror. And then, of course, he got fame and fortune from doing the Gremlins movies, and then he did Explorers after that. And Howling was one of his classic films. I really enjoyed that. I checked out the budget. I think the budget for that was like $1 million, and then it made like almost 18 million, so that's really good. And it had the first time use of bladder effects I think I've ever seen in a movie, where they have like, little bladders that they blow air into under like the latex, and you see it like pulsating and stuff like that. And the werewolves look really cool in the movie. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. I liked the ending with the hamburger and stuff. I think it was the ending credits. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that film. That was a full-on 10 out of 10, and that was definitely the best in the series. And then some of these movies I've seen out of sequence, but that was the first one. And then let me go. I got a listing of the movies with the release of the dates. That came out in 81. Now, a lot of these other ones I saw when I was in the Army during my 4 years in the Army. So this could easily be an Army days also. Let me see. What else did I see? That came out in 80. Let me check my dates. 88. See, it was like... Okay. Okay, I got it straight out now. Now, the next film I saw was Howling III, The Marsupials, when I was in AIT in 88 in Fort Detrick, Maryland. I actually saw it at the movie theater, believe it or not. And it was from Square One Productions, I believe. And the director, Philip Moore, he also did the second one, Howling II, Your Sister's a Werewolf. But I saw this one first. Like I said, I saw him out of sequence, kind of. You know. And I had one chance to see it. It was on a Sunday afternoon. And I remember this was the only Howling film that got a PG-13 rating. And this one, the werewolves were like kangaroos where they have like their young in a pouch. And this was set in Australia. I don't remember a whole lot from the movie. I remember the thing with the pouch and the werewolf in there. And then they had like a director who was like Alfred Hitchcock. I remember the soldiers were booing the screen. It wasn't... At the time, I didn't like the sequel. It's definitely not the worst of the Howling series. Like I said, Fangoria would say why are the Howling sequels so bad? And they really hated all the Howling sequels pretty much, except for one, which I'll get to eventually. And this was one where they really hated the second one, but they thought that the third one was the better of the Howling sequels at the time. But I remember the soldiers were booing at the screen. I thought it was an alright movie, but it's a mixed bag. Not a great film, but I give that a 6 out of 10 for Howling III, The Marsupials. And then, you know, before AIT, I went to, I had like a 16, 17 day break. You know, I went home, I was on leave. That was my vacation leave. And before going to Germany for 2 years, I remember on USA Up All Night they had, I saw like the last 20 minutes of Howling IV, the original, was it the original Nightmare? Yeah, Howling IV, the original Nightmare. I saw the last 20 minutes of it, and it was really lousy, except they had a really cool transformation scene in there. And I never saw I really hated that film. I never saw the whole film until much later, and I'll get to that when I get to it. So I wasn't a fan of that one except for the transformation scene. I might have seen like the last half hour, but the transformation scene at the very end, they tried to do something different, which I really liked. But that was like, I'll get back to my rating of that later on when I tell you about the whole film. Now, next, I went to Germany, and they were selling films at the, I bought a lot of VHS tapes when I was in the Army in Germany. And usually the standard price was $16.95. I remember in Bremerhaven, they had Howling II, Your Sister's a Werewolf off Thorn EMI. And I remember buying that film. And I took it home, and I really liked it. People hated that movie. I know Fangoria trashed that movie, saying it was nothing but garbage, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, they said that on IMDb, they said that people were trashing the film, and then later it became like a cult classic. It has a cult following now, but at the time it didn't. Reb Brown was in it, Christopher Lee was in it, Sybil Danning was in it, and there was a great scene where Sybil Danning, toward the end, was like revealing her breasts, and there was like an ending sequence when she does it like 17 times, because she's a very attractive woman. And I like Sybil Danning, and I really liked the movie. The movie was a lot of fun. There was a new wave band called, they were trying to cater to like new wave music and stuff, and there was a new wave band called Babel that did a song called The Howling, which was really cool. I really liked that sequence. Um, and it was from Hemdale releasing, like, a lot of these Howling sequels had different companies behind it. Because Avco Embassy was the first one. And I don't think Avco Embassy wanted anything to do with the other ones. And there was a scene where Dee Wallace, who starred in the first one, transformed into a werewolf. And they tried to recreate that in Howling II, Your Sister's a Werewolf. And it looked really cheesy. But I had a good time with Howling II. I really enjoyed it. I know most people probably hated that one, but I had a lot of fun with it. So, I mean, that gets... as far as I'm concerned, that's a 10 out of 10. I love that movie. Now, next is one that people always bash, too. I saw it in Germany as well. And a lot of these ones, like parts 4, 5, and 6, were all released on Live Entertainment. I think it was called Live Entertainment. They had a distinct white... sticker on their VHS tapes that I remember, and they also did the Silent Night Deadly Night sequels, parts 2, 3, 4, and 5. I remember that. And the very first one was from TriStar, and then TriStar didn't have anything to do with the sequels for the Silent Night Deadly Night. Now, going back to the Howling, the next one was Howling V: The Rebirth. And what that was Clive Turner, who starred in it, who wrote it and also was a producer. And you'll hear his name more in some of these other ones too. Yeah, he's a writer and a producer in it. Was in the movie. And what Howling V: The Rebirth was about these people meeting in this castle. And there was like, I guess it was like a take on 10 Low Indians and stuff like that. And like it was like a murder type mystery, and you had to find out which one was a werewolf and stuff. A lot of people bashed this film. I know Fangoria bashed it again, and I think they mentioned they were talking to Joe Dante about that, about part 5, and he said, "Is that the movie where they're on the castle and nothing happens?" But I liked Howling V. I know my friend. I watched it with my roommate Jeff Moscone, and he was a big fan of the film. He liked it too, and I thought it was very well done. I thought it was interesting. It sounds like it might be boring. I didn't think it was boring at all. I really enjoyed the film, and what else was there? I've seen it a few times. Now, me and my friend Jeff and myself, we might be the only people who like the film. But I did enjoy it, and I had a good time. I give that, as far as I'm concerned, I give that maybe like 9 out of 10. So, once again, Fangoria was saying, why are the Howling movies so terrible? And I think they did a couple articles about that in their magazine. And I haven't read Fangoria in a long time. When I got out of the Army, I got a subscription, like a 1 year or 2 year subscription to Fangoria, like in the early 90s. And then I didn't buy Fangoria after that. I remember going to Hot Topic in the mall. Something in the 2000s. I haven't been to Mill Creek Mall since 2012. I think, if I'm not mistaken. I remember going in there and they had Fangoria in there and they wanted like $10 for a copy of Fangoria. Like, hell with that. It ain't worth no $10. And last time I really got like a subscription to a horror magazine, I remember my mom got me in 2003, 2004 a subscription to the Canadian version of Fangoria called Rue Morgue, and it was like a 2 year subscription that came out like once every 2 months, and it was like $68, I think. And she was complaining about how much it was, and that magazine got real expensive too. But it was cool checking out the magazine, even though I got tired with them saying every movie sucked, and them constantly just wanting to bash Fangoria magazine. And what else is next? Okay, Howling V: The Rebirth came out. See, I got off on a tangent. Now, that was made in 89. Let me go through the years. The Howling was 81. Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf, was 85. Howling III, The Marsupials, was 87. Howling IV, The Ritual Nightmare, is 88. Howling V: The Rebirth was 89. So there was, those were steady, done in a steady fashion. Now, it was 2 years before Howling VI: The Freaks came out, and I was in Fort Detrick, Maryland. I remember seeing ads for this film and reading about it. I definitely wanted to rent it, and I didn't know what to expect. With The Freaks, that was a little more of an unusual title. And I got the movie, and the first 10 to 15 minutes of the movie is very slow and very boring, and then it picks up, and it's a great film. It's about like this guy who's a werewolf. He's trying to, find his own way or stuff like that. He's kind of like a loner guy. And there's a traveling carnival sideshow with all these freaks in it, including Antonio Fargas, who played Huggy Bear on Starsky and Hutch. I remember talking to Heather about her, and she thought that he was just a one-hit wonder, but he's been in a lot of movies. Like I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. That was a good one. And this one, he played the geek that bit the head off the chickens and stuff. And basically, it turned out that the guy who was the head of the carnival was also a vampire, and he was feeding on the people at night, and then it ended up with a werewolf and a vampire getting in a fight at the end. I love this movie. I think it's really good. Even Fangoria said this was a good sequel, and they really liked the film too, along with me. I thought it was a great film. And this is a full-on 10 out of 10. This is one of the best Howling films out there, as far as the sequels and stuff go, Now, after that, I was really psyched to see the next Howling movie. And I got out of the Army a few months after I saw Howling VI: The Freaks. And it wasn't until 1995 that brought Howling New Moon Rising, and I saw it on Cinemax. I don't know when I saw it on Cinemax, 96 maybe, or 97, or maybe 95, I can't remember. I remember taping it on videotape. And that guy, Clive Turner, I think he actually directed this film, because he was behind the scenes on Howling IV and Howling V. And basically it's about the small town, the guys in a bar, and like there's all these mysterious deaths, and they're trying to figure out what caused it. And they kept showing clips of from part 4 and part 5. It was very annoying. And it was so incredibly boring, with some of the lamest jokes you could ever imagine. Like I said, I wanted to see the movie, but it took me like 3 or 4 days to watch the whole thing. I watched like a little bit, I said, oh god, this sucks. I shut it off. I was committed to see the whole thing. Because I wanted to see, I thought maybe it would, I don't know. There was a couple times when movies were like that. Like that movie Sunset with Bruce Willis and James Garner, I saw in Germany. The Blake Edwards film. That was awful. It was so boring. And this was an awful, boring movie. Nothing of any substance whatsoever. And that gets a full-on 0 out of 10. I really hated this. And I didn't think anything would be worse in the Howling series than Howling New Moon Rising, or Howling 7. But it's called Howling New Moon Rising. And then, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. In Walmart, they used to sell these, I buy DVD. I don't buy DVDs anymore. But when I did, they used to sell they were selling this one company, Mill Creek or something like that, was selling 2 or 3 disc sets for $10 or $5, and they would have different movies on them. And I remember buying a couple sets. One set even had Howling IV, Your Sister's a Werewolf. I remember seeing it. No, not that one. Howling IV, The Original Nightmare. So I finally got to see the whole film uncut. Like I said before, I only saw the last 20 minutes on USA Network. Back when USA was a lot more fun. It's not as fun as it used to be. Just like most of the networks on cable. And I finally saw it, and a girl I think she was in South Africa or something like that, and absolutely nothing happens in the film. It's so boring. It turned out I really didn't miss anything, and things didn't pick up to the last 15 minutes where, you see some werewolves, then you see that cool transformation. And they did something different. And that's the only part I really liked about the film. And it was, once again, another disappointment. I give Howling for The Original Nightmare, just because of the transformation and stuff, a 3 out of 10. It had a lot of creativity. I love that. If the rest of the movie would have been that, would have tried to entertain like that, it would have been a really good film. But the one thing about that film, you got to see a werewolf transformation, which I really enjoy. That was completely different, not like a ripoff of the one from American Werewolf in London or anything like that. So, I mean, it gets it doesn't get a high rating. And like I said, I didn't think anything would be worse than Howling New Moon Rising. And as time went on, I knew that they said that there was another Howling movie. I said, okay. I kind of it just kind of passed me by and stuff like that. And I was thinking over this weekend, I said, it would be kind of cool to do I've been doing my personal history of this movie, my personal history of that movie. And I was talking to my friend Tony, and I said, it'd be pretty cool to check out the newest one. I looked up, I thought it was just a remake. And I looked up on Wikipedia the Howling franchise, and it shows the number of the films. There's been 8 films total, right? And like I said, the last one was 1995. Well, the last one I saw was 1995, Howling New Moon Rising. And then in 2011, they had Howling Reborn. So I was like, man, I got to check that out, and then I can do a video of my history of the Howling films, right? So I saw it a few hours back. Like I said, I didn't think anything would be worse than Howling the Original Nightmare. I told Tony. Tony said that he saw it, and he said he thought the other ones were much better. And I said, well, hopefully it'll be better than Howling New Moon Rising. He said, I hope so too. And I saw it, and oh my God, it sucks. It sucks. Nothing like the other ones at all. It's about they're trying to do something like Twilight or that crappy MTV show I don't watch called Teen Wolf. Teenage angst, because they took the Teen Wolf series when I heard MTV was doing it. I thought they were going to be like the Michael J. Fox Teen Wolf movies, or the great underrated Teen Wolf 2 with Jason Bateman, which I remember seeing before I went into basic training, which I love that movie too, and no one ever talks about that film. Well, anyways, this is a bunch of teenagers in a school, and I guess he thinks he's a werewolf or something like that. It's so badly acted. And there's a title sequence where it's trying to introduce this stuff, and it's so kinetic and stuff like that, and it adds up to nothing. It gave you a headache. I was man, I hate this film. Hopefully after the credits it'll get better. It doesn't. I hated this film all the way through. I mean, the acting was horrible. They couldn't do the gore right. They couldn't edit right. It is unconvincing. They had a graduation in the rain, and that was stupid. Nothing in the movie made sense. Nothing in the movie I liked. I mean, and they were saying who wants to see a bunch of old geezers in a film and stuff like that? If I want to see people in the 40s, I go see my parents. They're talking about the other Howling movies. The other Howling sequels, not New Moon Rising, but were much better than this. But even Howling New Moon Rising, I liked a little bit better than this one. I absolutely loathed this film. Nothing made sense. Everything sucked. It got to the point I couldn't wait to be over. I'd start fast forwarding just a little bit to see, so I could see what the werewolves looked like. All the werewolves sucked. They couldn't do the werewolves right. Nothing was terrible. I would rather see the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street again as opposed to this film. This film sucks. This gets a full-on 0 out of 10, and it's actually worse than New Moon Rising, and I didn't think that would be possible. I thought that Anchor Bay would make a competent film, and it had a budget, but it still looked cheap, and it was R-rated, and there was a blonde woman on there, and there was a couple of chances for her to be topless, and she wasn't. I don't know why. At least that could have been something. Because a lot of times with the horror sequels and stuff like that, you have to appeal, you have to have gore, and it barely had any gore in it. It had swearing in it. But the gore was done badly. It's nudity and gore. Or Don Dolan used to say it would have blood, boobs, and beasts. Bud, that's Bud to Chud. Chud 2. But I absolutely hated Howling Reborn with a passion. I couldn't imagine. I don't know what the people were thinking who made the film. Like, people think that'd be entertaining. I mean, I understand Howling New Moon Rising because the guy probably didn't have any money. He decided just to scrape up what he could and make something. But the most entertaining thing about Howling 3, about Howling New Moon Rising, is they had like a little intro to the movie company. It was two guys on the cartoon, two guys shaking hands. That was the most interesting thing in Howling New Moon Rising. And there was absolutely nothing entertaining in Howling Reborn. It was awful. I absolutely hated it. And, wow, I don't even know what else to say. It was terrible. So, I mean, in closing, that was my personal history of the Howling films. They've been much maligned. Some worthy, some not. The last two, definitely. And now I'll probably give you my list of my rankings of the Howling films from worst to best. I'm not going to do it for the other films because I already did my personal history, you know. But no one else has done this on YouTube, so I thought I would do it. So, it's number 8 to number 1. Number 8 is Howling Reborn. And very close number 7 is Howling New Moon Rising. And then right after that is Howling for the Original Nightmare. Then Howling 3, the Marsupials. And then Howling 4, the Rebirth. Now, these are close after this. I'd probably give it to Howling number 3 from worst to best. It'd probably be Howling Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf. And then number 2 is Howling 6, the Freaks. Well, that's pretty much neck and neck. But, I mean, they had such a great scene with the werewolf and the vampire fighting. I had to give it to that one, even though I love Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf. These are all very close, the last 3 anyways. And number 1 would be the Joe Dante classic, The Howling. So, I mean, I wanted to thank everybody. My friend Tony Talant. I was on Martinez tonight. Saturday night, it was kind of a rough one. They ended it early. But I had a nice time on there, too. I thought I'd mention that. And I just wanted to thank everybody. And I hope you like this thing. No one talks about the Howling sequels in like one video. I just did. Unless I missed something on YouTube. This is kind of like a YouTube premiere. Kind of. But I mean, I don't think anyone gives a shit. But I fucking hated Howling Reborn. I can't state that enough. I mean, Howling New Moon Rising I hated that too, but I really hated that, but I never thought I would hate Howling Reborn. I really despise and loathe that film. So I hope you like this video, and until next time, bye, please. Take care, my liege. That thumbnail that Tony did is pretty awesome. You gotta check it out. Alright, take care, everybody.